what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy hour number 3. And right now it's time to talk to Billy Embody from On3 for signing D. What's up, Billy? What's going on, man?
Not much, guys. How are you?
Doing well. Let's talk LSU. We mentioned it at the start of the show. 27 commits right now. In an interesting maybe turn from other years. All 27 expected to sign today, right? Like no real threats of any flipping out of the LSU class?
Yeah, we're expecting everybody that is committed to sign today and be in. We're already at 12 before 9 a.m., which is rolling for the early signing period for sure. So kudos to Brian Kelly and his staff for, not having any drama so far that we're expecting. So that's always a positive when you get into this final, couple days of the recruiting cycle.
How should LSU fans feel about this class? Because some will poo-poo it. It's outside the top 10. There are no consensus 5 stars in it. I think the kind of point, the only thing that kind of maybe sticks out to me is that if you just look at the SEC, it's like middle of the pack. How should LSU fans try to evaluate this? I should say this, let's say a not like maybe a more logical human being, not someone who's just going to be, because it's not like top 3 no matter what.
Yeah, they actually rank as the number 6 overall class for On3. So we're really high on this group, and LSU staff has done a really nice job addressing needs. Now, people are going to look at it and, of course, wonder what's going to happen with the Dominic McKinley to kind of potentially finish off that defensive line haul. That's an important position for them. But outside of that, they've done a really, really good job with all of their commits. I like pretty much all of them and see kind of the vision for all these guys that they're bringing in. When you look at the top, I see guys like Trey'Dez Green at tight end and Weston Davis on the offensive line that are 2 blue chip guys for LSU and guys that have the potential to finish as 5 stars for On3. And, those are 2 cornerstones right there. And you look at their finish to this class. They flipped Weston Davis this fall. They flipped Bernard Causey, a defensive back from New Orleans from Ole Miss. They flipped Gabriel Relaford, a top 100 prospect for On3. On the defensive line from Texas A&M, they flipped C.J. Jackson, another top 100 prospect from Georgia Tech. They've just done a really nice job closing on this class. And for LSU fans, you should feel pretty good about it. I think they've got one of the best linebacker hauls in the entire country. A lot of versatility, a lot of talent in that group. The offensive line for Brad Davis is a really, really strong class once again for him. And they got a top 10 running back in Caden Durham. And I just think they addressed a lot of needs with this class. And if they can buckle down and get Dominic McKinley, the 5-star defensive lineman from Acadiana in the spring, then you can sit back and if you're following On3's rankings, you can probably see them finishing in the top 5.
Damn.
Yeah. Billy, we were talking about it right before you came on, of guys that maybe weren't as heralded as some of the 4- and 5-star guys at the bottom of the class. Ashton Stamps was, I think, the lowest rated guy a year ago, and he got some run. And really in fall camp, he was one of the stories. Coaches really were buzzing about him. And so when you look at this class, who, in your opinion, can be that guy? Who's a guy maybe that doesn't, is not a top 300 player. He falls underneath that, but you can see him making an impact this fall.
Yeah, I think Bernard Causey is one to watch from Ole Miss. If he can stay healthy and develop his body, I think he's somebody that could play and challenge for some time at the cornerback position. And, again, a position of need for LSU that they've been able to address. And so I like him a lot on the defensive side, just from one of those more under-the-radar guys. And then another player that LSU got, they brought him into camp. He really shined this summer. He's kind of in a tough offensive situation at Terrebonne, but that's Kylan Billiot, who is a former basketball player who's really locked in on playing football at the next level and has done a nice job continuing to develop. And he's going to the All-American Bowl in January in San Antonio, and he'll have a chance to boost his stock at the end of this recruiting cycle. And if he does well there that week, in a kind of neutral setting with good quarterback play and all those things, we could see him move up. But I really like what they got in Kylan Billiot. He's a big body, so that's a plus as well. And so those are two guys, one on each side of the ball, that I feel pretty solid about.
Billy, how is LSU managing to recruit things like defensive backs and D linemen and just really maybe defensive players in general when there's so many rumors and things on these staff appear to potentially be in flux on that side of the ball? Like, what are they selling these recruits on?
Yeah, I think a lot of colleges kind of deal with this around this time of year.
That's fair.
There are coaching changes that are going to happen, across the country, and coaches that are going to move on as soon as signing day is over, or as soon as national signing day is over. Those are kind of the windows that we see things happen, and I don't know what we're going to see from LSU, but on that front, it's guys like Frank Wilson and Joe Sloan and Sherman Wilson and J.R. Belton and a lot of the just staff that are kind of working on the class overall. From like a Louisiana perspective, for example, they flipped Gabriel Relaford and Frank Wilson, and those guys really honed in on him and he sold the vision of coming to play for LSU. And with all the changes in College Station, they were able to certainly take advantage of that. But it's all about the guys that you can get that can help your football team, and whether it's coaching changes that kind of help you or whatever situation changing, you've got to just try to assemble as much talent as you can. And for LSU's defense in particular, the push is early playing time, and those guys can help you. And no matter who's the coach, and again, that's kind of across college football. And so if you can make them feel comfortable and make them feel like they've got a home and they're going to be taken care of and things like that, then a lot of the times you can see the fruits of that labor pay off. And I think we did in that respect.
Now, Billy, obviously, LSU's kind of become a quarterback factory. Two of the last four starters have won Heisman trophies, and never did I think we'd say that, but that's where we're at. And so you get a quarterback in Colin Hurley, and this is somebody that's been committed to LSU for over a year. And I realize he's not the 6'5", 230-pound quarterback. He's, a little over 6 foot tall, 215 pounds, but he is a four-star guy. Kind of what's the breakdown and your thoughts on Colin Hurley?
Yeah, I actually saw him finish out his high school career on Monday night at the U.S. Army Bowl in Frisco, and he kind of came together with a group that had to deal with a lot of pressure in his face in that game, especially in the first half. But he responded and threw 5 touchdown passes and was really in command of everything he was doing in the second half. And so I like him. I think he's somebody that can sit and develop. You've got Garrett Nussmeier. You've got A.J. Swan now, the Vanderbilt transfer that's coming in. Got Ricky Collins. But Collins still young. And so if he can sit for a couple years and not be forced into playing early, which I think is, the plan for him for sure, that would be ideal. And he has some of the top natural arm talent that is out there in the country. If he can improve his accuracy and just kind of consistency in his mechanics, he'll have a chance to be a good one. And so he's been a leader of this class. He's been locked in, like you said. He'll be here in January, so we'll get a jump on everything. And, we'll kind of see how he goes. And the good thing for LSU, like you said, is they're right in the mix and right near the top for Bryce Underwood, the number 1 player in the country in 2025. So if you reel him in, then you just continue to see that positive momentum at that quarterback position too.
Is someone like Hurley increasingly rare nowadays, Billy, in that he is someone who, how do I say this? Like, he's been so gung-ho LSU from the very beginning, right? Like, throughout it all, constantly recruiting. It seems like more and more nowadays, maybe players, and maybe I'm off here, but it feels like outside looking in, maybe players are more reticent to show that just kind of full-on commitment because you could argue that it takes like monetary leverage off the table.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and quarterbacks are a little different. They do seem like they tend to stay a little bit more locked in, but even we're seeing buzz around DJ Lagway, potentially flipping from Florida. I haven't seen a letter of intent roll in from him. If I missed it, that's another thing. But overall, you see see most of the quarterbacks stay locked in because they want to recruit for their class. And quarterback commits are kind of like baseball commits. They want to get their process done and just kind of focus on their seasons and focus on preparing for their college experience. And you can kind of see the trajectory and the path of their quarterback room that they're going to join relatively early compared to some of these other positions, at least in my opinion. And so LSU did a really nice job locking him in early, and so credit to Joe Sloan for that. But, yeah, once Colin was committed, he was locked in, and I don't know if it's necessarily rare, but I think he's one of those guys that you can point to that just showed how you should be locked in as a quarterback for the most part, unless your situation changes or what have you. But that's what you want to see from your quarterback commit.
Billy, if you want to look into the future here and tell me which one of these players maybe gets on the field the fastest, would you have an answer ready to go?
Oh, yeah. I think you could see somebody like Caden Durham. I think Caden Durham, the top 10 back from Duncanville. I just watched him in the state championship game do what he does, which is produce. He had over 2,000 yards and 35 touchdowns this year for Duncanville. He is physically ready to go. He is very, very physical. He runs really hard. He's a one-cut guy. So just from that perspective, he's going to, not be tippy-toeing. He's going to lower his shoulder and take on contact. But he also has a 10.25 100-meter dash on his resume, which is just absolutely moving. So he's a really ready now back. And with LSU's running back room, could be losing a couple guys. I think he's going to be in position to play early.
Last one here, Billy. Jesse asked a good question. Is college football done with super COVID seniors? Is this the last year?
There's probably a few out there that are going to be 6-year guys. So I think this upcoming season is probably the last one.
Wow.
That I can think of. You get guys that redshirted in 2019, and then 2020 didn't count, and then they played 21, 22, 23. So 2024 should be the last year of it, I think.
Billy Embody, coverage recruiter for On3Sports for LSU, SMU as well. He does excellent work. Billy, thank you so much. I know it's an insane day for you, so thank you for carving out some time for us here on OTB.
All right, buddy. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.